Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is our very first episode of Reclaiming Wellness, a brand new podcast. And we are the host team. My name is Dr. Sarah Ellis, and I am joined with Coach Cece Fortune and our holistic nutritionist, Kristen Turpin.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So, this is our first episode, and we're going to walk through introductions, getting to know our stories, and what this podcast is about and what you can expect. For those of you who have watched my podcast, The Black Girl's Guide to Natural Medicine, and you've probably seen Coach Cece and I do a couple of episodes, so you know we have to have our disclaimer. This podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Please consult with your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health regimen. And please don't forget to subscribe and rate our podcast. You should be able to find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. So, we were going to start with introductions, but I wanted to actually start with why we wanted to do this podcast.
Okay.
So, Cece, how are you? Just kind of tell us why you were so excited about starting this podcast and what the vision was on your side of everything.
Okay. Yes. I think, one reason I was so excited to do this podcast with the two of you is that we had this instant vibe that everything, our mindsets, our values, they were very similar. And so we all kind of were on this same path of wanting to share this information with people and help people have access to simple ways that are easy to access holistic living. There's so much information out there. It's hard to know what's true, what's right, what's real. We have always been interested in simplifying the information and helping people to use it, not in a way that's gimmicky and not in a way that's expensive and impossible, you know? So I know we were excited about this podcast because it creates a way for us to give this information out to people for free. And, all you have to do is click play. So
Right.
so that was that for me. It was like I get to talk to two of my girlfriends and share information that I'm passionate about in a laid back, relaxed way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love it.
definitely.
What about you, Kristen?
I think the way the world is, I feel like there's just a lot of smoke to get through. There's a lot of stuff. So it's like our way to find, again, that path, clear it out. If you can't afford everything to be organic, what is the most important things that you do? If you love Oreos, what's a swap? you know like
Yeah.
how at least empowering people with the knowledge so that they can make a better choice. For
Yeah.
instance, like European countries that do have Fruit Loops and other things, their ingredients are cleaner. Even if they have a food dye or a bad ingredient, there's a warning label.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I feel like they can make a decision based with knowledge
Yes.
that they want, and we don't have that in America. So I feel like this podcast is going to bring them the knowledge, and then they can choose the best path for themselves with the knowledge we give them. Because again, it's just there's so much smoke. You go down so many rabbit holes,
Yes.
you can get stressed out. Let's chisel the path of least resistance so that people can make awesome decisions for themselves and their family in a simplified way.
Hmm.
Exactly. I mean, all three of us are on the same page. That's why we agreed to create this show. And essentially, um, I wanted to make this type of information accessible to all. So, low cost for entry, easy to be accessible, whether it's audio or video. But then also, just like you said, Kristen, giving people the information so that they can make their own decisions,
Mhm.
knowing that they can receive information from us who we've had the education and the certifications, and we believe in evidence-based medicine, evidence-based care, and being able to tap into a community that is genuinely underserved. So,
Hmm.
Black and Brown women, Black and Brown families who really suffer a lot of the burden of the toxicity of our world and
Yeah.
our society, and often don't have the resources to have a naturopathic doctor or a health coach or a holistic nutritionist. That's really why we settled on the name Reclaiming Wellness, because we want to help people reclaim their health, reclaim feeling good in their bodies and in their mind, body, and spirit. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's our why.
I love it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So let's give folks a background on how we know each other. Cece and I met in 2020, right around the pandemic. Yes, we could, because we were in that Facebook group that I don't even remember the name of it. It was very dramatic, but we found each other and we were like, we're on the same vibe. Our kids are around the same age, and we just started creating content together. And here we are, almost 4 years later, almost 5 years later. I know, crazy, right? Kristen and I know each other through my job, and we connected through consultations, and we just have the same principles, same values, and we live in the same state. All three of us got together. We vibe really well. They are both practitioners in my practice, and so we are taking care of folks together. And so that's kind of how this dream team got put together. Let's do our introductions. Who am I? I'm Dr. Sarah Ellis. I am a naturopathic doctor. I studied at Bastyr University in San Diego, California. Before I went to naturopathic medical school, I was actually a researcher. And that's how I found out about holistic health and natural medicine. I was in a PhD program because I'm a gigantic nerd.
Nerds rule the world.
Exactly. Don't we? Yes, we do. And so I was studying something called pharmacognosy. And I should probably put that in the chat somewhere, because every time I say it, folks are like, what?
That's a new word.
Yeah.
Vocabulary word for the day.
So pharmacognosy, which is essentially drug design and drug development from natural products. And my project specifically studied the estrogenic activity of herbs for menopausal symptom relief. It just so happened that my mom was going through menopause around the same time. So I'm telling her about my research and how my day went and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, my doctor has never told me that I could take herbs for my hot flashes and stuff. And I thought, there's a doctor that can do that. That's really cool. You know, I always wanted to be a doctor ever since I wanted to be a little girl. I was pre-med in college, and about halfway through, I discovered research, and I was like, My friends who are also pre-med, they're having an existential crisis because they have a 3.9 and they don't know if they're going to get into medical school, and they have a perfect MCAT and they're still stressed out. I was like, I think I want to do research. Maybe I'll just stick to the research side. You guys go in the clinical route. And I just thought that was it. And I didn't really give medicine another thought. But then when I discovered naturopathic medicine, oh my God, this is amazing. It's like the perfect marriage between research, natural medicine, and still medicine in general. And then learning more about it, you learn like, oh, this is like the original medicine. I was dating my boyfriend, who's now my husband, and his best friend had just graduated from the naturopathic medical school in Toronto, Canada. She's telling me about it, and I'm telling her about my research, and she's like, oh my God, you would love naturopathic medicine. You should look into it. And I was kind of like, yeah, I don't even know that. I've never even heard of a naturopathic doctor. Like, I think I'm good. But I looked it up, and I ended up shadowing a ND, and I fell in love. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm meant to do for the rest of my life. That is how I got started. In that time between graduating with my master's degree and starting medical school, I became an integrative nutrition health coach because I wanted to figure out integrative medicine and, you know, the diets and micronutrients and all that stuff. And then I started medical school. And medical school really opened my eyes to the breadth and depth of natural health, natural medicine, natural remedies, and the many different tools that you have access to help someone heal and improve their health naturally. I liken it to being able to add a bunch of tools to my toolbox. And when I compare and explain the difference between MDs and DOs, which is allopathic medicine, and naturopaths, naturopathic doctors, um, I explain it like the differences are toolbox. Allopaths have pharmaceuticals and surgery, which is very important at certain
Absolutely,
times.
yeah.
Absolutely. Everyone's probably heard me tell this joke before, but if you're having a heart attack, please do not call me.
These herbs on your chest.
We're not, we're not
Get a tincture of cayenne pepper. Take it immediately.
going to do any of that. You're going to go to the ER, okay? Get stabilized, and then afterwards,
Right.
and we can talk
Holler
about
at me later.
and
Right.
herbs and stuff to help with heart health and lifestyle things and managing your stress. But
Yeah.
if you're actively having a heart attack, I have no
Like, do not call me. Call 911.
That's not my scope. Amen. Yes. But it's very important. I have had so many benefits from Western medicine. My child would literally not be alive without Western medicine. I'm one of those practitioners that believe that there is room and that it is necessary to have all parts of medicine.
Yeah.
But I do think that naturopathic doctors and holistic nutritionists, health coaches, and all the spectrum of practitioners within the complementary and alternative medicine realm can play a role in supporting healthcare and patient care and client care.
Mhm.
So that's like a little bit of my story.
I think you brought up a really good point about the tool bag or your tool chest,
Mhm.
so to speak, because people are practicing holistic medicine in small ways, some people in big ways. I met some people and I'm like, wow, you know more about this than I do, you know. But I think once you start digging into this stuff, you realize like chiropractic and acupuncture, getting a massage, you know, like there's so many different things. It's not a common thing that our allopathic MDs, DOs, and other people in that more modern medical model.
Yeah.
Have you thought about getting massages? They'll recommend like PT and OT and things like that, but it's rare. They'll say, have you thought about getting seen by a chiropractor?
Mhm.
And I think once you start to see there are so many different paths you can take, I think it really makes a difference. That was a good point that you made about that, that the tool bag you have is vastly different than what the doctor's tool bag is, but that they're all important.
But I think that the medical system now doesn't have respect a lot
Yeah,
for other things. They think they're the only way. If you don't get this
Yeah.
treatment, you're going to die. I don't think you should scare people.
right.
Again, give them options. You can try this, but you could change your diet, work on your stress, and get those therapies done.
Yes.
It's a compliment, and I think we've pushed out like natural holistic medicine as being woo woo and foo
Yes.
foo, whatever, and it's the medicine that's existed on the planet more
Longer than
any
anything.
other man-made, and I feel like there has to be we have respects for MDs and there needs to be that same respect for the natural medicine.
Yeah.
You know, I
matters.
tell clients because they'll come to me and they're very frustrated. Like, why doesn't my doctor know about nutrition? And why don't they know about these things? They're not taught it. Like,
Right.
they're
Right. There's only so much they can learn when they're in school. And a lot of
Yeah.
stuff, when you work in healthcare, there are definitely things that you learn as you're going through it. And
Yeah.
that's why you have mentors and other people that help you. But yeah, they're not trained on that stuff because
I
they're trained on how to do a surgery or fix a heart. I'm not
Right,
going to fix
but
your
I
heart.
do think the pharmaceutical company owns a lot of the medical schools.
That is
and
true
they're
too.
over teaching that piece of it. They could save more time for nutrition.
They
It's just what
absolutely.
you eat is what builds your body. Builds your
Yeah.
you get a whole new heart every 7 years. You better eat good food
Yeah.
to
Eat the
get that
food so you
heart,
get the right building materials.
liver, thyroid, all that regenerates. Your skin's all the time, your microbiome. If
Mhm.
you're putting bad food in and thinking that a pill's gonna fix that, that's
Yeah.
not. I do
Well,
think
it's a
some doctors are learning that.
yes.
When I was pregnant and had my little one, Zane, the doctor he was talking about the microbiome. He's like it.
Nice.
I think that a lot of doctors that still have that curiosity are reading medical journals, but then there's some that are not. So
Right.
you're going to get bad apples with whoever you are, even
Absolutely.
nutritionists, even doctors. But I do think there needs to be love and respect for all fields,
Absolutely.
no matter who you are. Medical school could probably get a little better, but so could a lot of other things. Hopefully, the systems will change and people will start paying more attention to food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you make a good point. I think you can correct me because sometimes I throw information at you guys had to catch me. Um, But they say practice is like 10 or 20 years behind medical research. The information is there, but the
Mhm.
doctors don't always have time to read it real time.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
unless someone's presenting the information to them, they may not get it for a decade or
Right.
two. And then they say, oh, we should be doing
And then
this. So
all they
yes,
get is a pharmaceutical rep to come in and bring them lunch and tell them about a
yes,
supplement pill, and they think they're unethical if they don't present it to a patient. That's what's going to help them, but that's not per se what's going to help them. I've worked in the hospital setting for 15 years.
yeah.
Chronic headaches are not going to be solved by a CAT scan. Chronic this and chronic that, and diverticulitis flaring up. You can't just keep taking the pill for it. Figure out why you have the headache, why you have that. And it's okay to go to the doctor and get the imaging, all those things. But to get to the root of it, you need these other things to come in and really help you.
And
Yeah.
you make a good point. I think that's something the three of us think is really important, root cause medicine. If you're having an acute issue, we're going to probably throw something at it to deal with the acute issue because we need to fix it right now. How can we fix that right now? So you can learn about the root cause. Then we can adjust your diet, adjust your sleep patterns, and find ways to manage stress so that maybe that headache doesn't come back, or maybe it's not as bad and you can manage it without having to take a pill because it wasn't so terrible. It didn't turn into a migraine, you know?
Exactly. So yeah, that I think that's it for my story. So, and of course, our conversation will continue as we do our introductions. Coach Cece, how did you get started on your holistic health integrative medicine journey?
All right. I have always been interested in health and the body. I am like old school. I'm gonna tell y'all when I was born yet. I ain't ready. But I was doing get in shape girl workouts on a cassette tape. So, and we use those little bowling pin things. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I am older than you, probably.
On cassette tape.
But I was always doing exercise and experimenting with food and nutrition since I was a little girl. I was always curious about the body, like what is the spleen, what is the liver? And I grew up in the encyclopedia generation, so we didn't have Google. My dad would say, "That's a wonderful thing for you to write a report for me about." That's the kind of nerd household that I grew up in. So I'd like, okay, I'll go research the spleen in my Encyclopedia Britannica, and I'll write a report for you.
No, my mom and dad had like the whole, the
Yes.
whole set.
That was my start. I was always researching, experimenting, and trying things out for myself. At some point in undergrad, my bestie Cece showed up to a like big event in our hometown, and she had like a TWA, which is a teeny weeny afro. I was like, oh, we're in the Midwest. We don't wear natural hair out here. We get relaxers. We straighten. And just seeing her come out with so much confidence, it was like a time when everyone was talking about, well, not everyone, there was a small buzz starting to come into like the stratosphere about, relaxers have chemicals that are the same as in Drano. Do we really want to put Drano in our hair? We don't touch Drano. We wear gloves. So what are we doing? That's when I started really saying, oh my God, what's going on with the products that I'm using? Why can't I be confident and have an afro? Why do I have to have my hair straightened? I want to just wear my natural hair and love who I am and feel confident. Through my bestie, I started researching hair care and natural skincare. There was a website called Naturality that was all about going back to your natural hair and like a lot of women of color just throwing off these chemical relaxers and stuff. And as you're doing that, you start to realize, oh, this is also toxic. Should I be wearing this lotion? Should I be making my own stuff? Because there weren't a lot of products back then. You definitely had to be making your own stuff.
There was no Mayel,
Yeah.
there was no Shea Moisture. No.
Mm-mm. You were out
Mm.
there like in the
The
thick of it.
grocery store
And
in your
the internet was just starting to become a major deal. So it's like, oh, I can look things up on a computer. I didn't have to go to a library and like, I don't know. It was just harder back in my childhood. Let's just say that. We were at a time where you had to go to the library and then the articles, you would have them printed out some kind of way so that you could get the article. It was a whole different time period.
you had dial-up and you couldn't use your phone at the same time as the
Yeah.
internet.
Mhm.
Yes, because we're dinosaurs.
We are, but it helps us to really appreciate what we have now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so during that time, I started making my own products and learning more about health. I was thinking about this today is that Michael Jackson has that They Don't Really Care About Us song. Because I grew up in a time where we learned to trust the government and believe what you're told and don't question these things. But I luckily had parents who said, well, question everything. Well, dig into that, research it, figure out what you think about it. Well, what do you think? Do you think you should be doing that? And so because my parents gave me that curiosity and confidence to dig in a world that was saying, no, do what we tell you to do, I didn't feel so bad about being a little bit of an oddball because I could always justify, well, did you know that it's the same as Drano? And did you know that this is toxic? Do you know that this causes cancer? So I was like, yeah, y'all can use that stuff. But as for me and mine, we're gonna do something different. And so that's kind of how I got into it. But then when I decided to have a child, then I got heavy into it. That's when I was like, oh my God, plastics. Oh my God, this. I just didn't realize how deep it was. When I bring up that Michael Jackson song, y'all work with me because you'll see that my brain is like all these little thought bubbles. But when I listened to that song back in the day, I was like, yeah, this is a nice song. I like the energy behind it. But then I started to really grasp Michael's feeling and what he was going through at that time. And even though his argument was different, it still plays out today. I don't think that the government itself doesn't care about us, but I do think that America is business. We are a capitalistic nation. We are about business. We are trying to make that money. We are trying to chase that American dream, and we can all be millionaires. And so, with that being the case, we don't always do the most to care about the people.
Shouldn't be at the expense
As
of
a
our health.
greater, yes.
Yeah, it's like at the expense of our people. And we're like, oh, sorry about all those health problems you have. Oh, no, I would never feed my own child the product that I put out in the market.
Right.
But I will put it out there for your child to eat. That type of stuff just made me feel like, you know what, they don't care about us. Because if they cared about us, they would say, look, this is meant to be a once a month snack, not an everyday thing. And I'm from that generation. We didn't have McDonald's every day. McDonald's was a luxury.
My mama didn't play that.
Right.
Right. Like you were lucky. Like if you, I keep aging myself or dating myself, but like if you watch the Eddie Murphy stand up about the house burger versus getting your McDonald's burger, that was reality back then. We went to Pizza Hut because I got my book, read my 10 books, and I got my free personal pan pizza. That was my
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah,
But
it was a
lovely.
treat. It wasn't something
Yeah.
every day.
It was
Yeah.
absolutely a treat. You got excited about going to Pizza Hut once every 2 months.
But the pizza, but
Yeah.
even the Pizza Hut was different then.
It was. The food that they used was higher quality, and the world is just different now.
Yeah. The sit down Pizza Hut with the little chandelier at the top.
Yes.
Yeah.
You felt like you were having a romantic Lady and the Tramp moment.
As a lactose intolerant child, I never went to Pizza Hut. But we did have occasional other fast food, or
Yeah.
Mr. Donut was on the corner. We would walk to
Yes.
Mr. Donut and come back. But that again, it was not as accessible. It wasn't,
Right.
it was a treat. You earned it. But again, the ingredients were different. I just think now we've got to do this podcast to really help people. I mean, there's just such a need to bring awareness in.
Yeah, because we came from a generation where our moms were still cooking meals for us and it wasn't like all fast food stuff. And now we transitioned to 2020 and beyond where kids are going to McDonald's multiple times a week. Moms aren't always at home making meals and maybe they don't have time or maybe they don't necessarily know how because they didn't grow up in that environment.
Yeah, and I had a client that went to Arizona, and she said even like the where you get soda and all that.
Like a vending machine.
It was an organic vending machine there. Like
Okay.
a salad, you could get an organic juice. She said it was kind of expensive, but that's an awesome option. Like, why are those not in schools?
Yeah.
Listen,
Get rid of that other crud for kids to just not get lunch and then go and buy. Oh my
It
God,
wouldn't be so
exploding their
expensive if
body.
they made a point of making it
Yes.
accessible because the more it's out there, the cheaper it can be.
Or if you quit putting trillions of dollars in the healthcare, you will have $1 trillion to put into the school system and school lunches and bettering the system. Some kids, that's the only meals they get is what's fed to them at school. That
Yeah.
breaks my heart. So sad to me. That's like my heart is
Yeah.
the food system. Is it would be more an occasional thing if it didn't have such a toxic load. But really, our kids are innocent from God by standards of the catastrophe that created out of money
Yeah.
and not love.
Yeah, it's greed. It's greed over people. It's money over people. And we were made to be beings of love. When you're doing loving things, it feels good. And
That's the secret to happiness.
natural.
Is giving.
Mhm.
So what are some ways that this is just a random question that kind of popped in my mind. What are some ways that you have reclaimed your wellness, Cece, on your journey since you started and even now as a mom and entrepreneur?
And I will add one thing because I forgot to say. So I forgot to introduce my background. By training, I'm an occupational therapist. I've worked in both mental health and physical health. So I've worked with people dealing with schizophrenia, dementia, substance abuse, children with behavioral problems, eating disorders, and things of that nature. I've worked with people who have had gunshot wounds, brain injuries, surgeries to fix whatever part of their body was not doing well, whether they were geriatric or younger. I am also Reiki and yoga trained, and I'm a health coach and an exercise physiologist. So a lot of the things that I do are kind of like energetic and physical. Um, I'm not the look, I'm pointing to you guys because you're above me on my screen. These two know more about the like herbs and the supplements and testing and all that other stuff. And I'm kind of like the baby learning that stuff.
There's a beautiful part for you. Yeah,
But
perfect trio.
yeah, I absolutely love this team because I do feel like we have a team that covers a lot of ground.
Yes.
But I will say that my reclaiming was allowing myself to be different and just saying, you know what, I
Mm.
do things the way everybody else does it. And people may look at me a little funny, but I'll tell you what, when I stopped getting my relaxer and I talked to my family members about it, years later, most of them don't get relaxers anymore. Most of my family, cousins, aunties, they all have their natural hair. They're not putting those chemicals in anymore. And if they do, it's very infrequent. So I know that for me, it was having the bravery and the confidence to be different, to kind of get teased a little bit, for people to kind of question, was I a little cuckoo? But to stand on that and to say, you know what, I'm okay if you think I'm a little weird because I've done my homework. I've done my homework and I feel confident in the decision I made. I may feel a little funny sometimes when I go out and people ask me questions or why would you do that? And I feel a little like, oh, I promise you, I know what I'm talking about. That was,
You should never be made to feel that way though either.
yeah,
I think now people are looking for people like us more
yeah,
than being the outlier we're looked
yeah,
to
yeah,
for
yeah.
that information or
Yeah, because when I told my parents that I was going to naturopathic medical school, they were like, I'm sorry, what?
They were like, what is this? So you're not going to be a real doctor?
yeah, yeah.
You're
I
really
think you are the realest doctor of all.
Right?
Personally.
Yeah, that's what you should put after your title.
A real doctor.
Realist doctor of them all, right?
But they were, my mom, she warmed to it a lot quicker than my dad did. He was just kind of like, I'm really confused. Like, you're in a PhD program. Like, what's the plan? It took him experiencing it himself. He came for a holiday visit to San Diego, and he's a Vietnam vet, 40-year fireman. So he's been exposed to a lot of
Yeah.
toxins, has chronic bronchitis, which is a form of COPD. And he had a chronic cough. I'm like, well, Dad, let's just go to the clinic. Let's see what they can do for you. You never know.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, okay. So he went and he's like, oh, this is like, I don't know what he was imagining, but he's like, oh, this is like an actual doctor's office.
You
Okay.
thought it was going to be like some crazy hippie dream.
We're not going to have you in a tent in the desert. Okay. It's an actual.
We might. No.
Listen, that's the next step. Okay. Let's face it. Let me ease you in the door. They recommended an amino acid and acetylcysteine.
Yes.
And his cough went away like that. Ever since then, he's just been like,
use you for everything.
the doctor, my daughter is doing this. Like, I
Yes.
can't tell you how many times, at least once or twice a week, I get a phone call or a text. It's like, I talked to the sweetest man, and he said that I should talk to you about XYZ. So I say that to say, as you go through your health journey, you are going to be the weirdo. You are going to be the one that's like, what is she doing? Or is she sure that's right? But as time progresses, society catches up.
Yeah.
Mainstream media catches up. I mean, I went to medical school I started it 8 years ago. What is life? But back then, no one knew. Like, very few people knew what a natural.
You didn't even know when you heard about it, right?
No, because I was like, huh? Oh. And now so many people are familiar with holistic health, coaching, naturopathic doctors, all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you will find that the people who were doubting you, the biggest doubters, will become your biggest cheerleaders.
100.
Once they see that this stuff works, the
Yeah.
proof is in the pudding. And
Right.
that's why our title has that it's revolutionary because it really is. It changes
Mhm.
your life. And I believe firmly that it can change the world. I
Right.
firmly believe it.
Yeah, that's the same thing with my sister when I told her how I was going back to school for holistic nutrition. And I was telling her about different things in the environment to be careful of. She
Yeah.
was like, something's going to always kill you. Well, but then her daughter got epilepsy. And who did
Oh,
she come to? She
Mm.
came to me, and we changed her diet. We looked at her gut, looked at some of the foods she was eating, worked on stress management, and she's never had to go on epileptic medicine. She completely reversed it because some of that medicine can be very hard on you
yeah.
neurologically. It can change your
Mhm.
personality. And
Yeah.
a little girl to go through that, which a lot of kids are on it now, tells you
Absolutely.
about our environment and our stress,
Hmm.
all the other things. But now she comes to me for everything. So you're right. That's where her revolution changed is
Yeah.
you became the biggest believer because she experienced herself.
Well, this is a perfect segue. So, Kristen, how did you get started on your holistic health journey and working your way to be a holistic nutritionist?
Right. So I have a bachelor's in psychology and biology. Then I worked and did not like the job I had. So I was like, well, let's go back to school. So I went back to school for radiography. I have a medical license in radiography and a medical license in CAT scan. I was in the thick of the medical system. If I was sick, I'd go get an antibiotic. If I had a sniffle but wanted to go to the gym, I would take an antibiotic so I could just keep going. I did not know anything about holistic, natural, the microbiome 7 years ago.
Mhm.
Foreign, completely foreign to me. But then after I had my first son, Ellis, I stopped sleeping. My stress was overwhelming. It does really go back to trauma, though. I think I stand out as a holistic nutritionist because I spend a lot of time on trauma. I'm in a mind body certification program. I'll be done in a few weeks, learning
Mhm.
a lot of cool things called new German medicine and hypnotherapy and just
Yes.
ways to work on this because I think all disease begins in the nervous system.
Yeah.
That
It's like what
shift
you're thinking. Yeah.
shift everything else. You
Yes.
cannot go through a very stressful, traumatic event, even if it's kids on the playground don't want to play with you anymore.
Yeah.
You're a little girl, your boyfriend leaves you, then everybody starts to make fun of you, or you're raped, beat, abused, alcoholism. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be anything that dysregulates
Yeah.
you. So really the reason why I could not handle the birth of my son, like the after, like managing going to work full time at the hospital, waking up at 4:30 and nursing a baby and all of the stress just overwhelmed me was because I used being made fun of and being molested to be perfect and protect myself from ever that happening again, which you can't live up to perfection.
Right.
Had eating disorders. I was addicted to Adderall. I was an overexerciser. All those things set the scene up for me to get an autoimmune disease. The
Mhm.
stress, my body tried to hold the stress down for so many years. And then finally having my son and adding the biggest stress of my life, it was
Mm.
just, okay, girl, I'm
Too
done.
much.
You're sick.
Yeah.
So I got Hashimoto's, an autoimmune disease, and I was trying to go to the doctor to get help. I thought I was losing my mind. I was pulling my hair out. I was anxious. I was an insomniac. It was absolutely the worst experience that I have ever had in my life. I would never wish it upon a worse enemy. It was the first time I felt true suffering. Like I could
Mm.
stop working out. I could stop throwing up. I could stop starving myself. I could stop the Adderall. I couldn't stop what was happening to my body before my eyes. I felt
Right.
so helpless. And I also had a control problem. Well, I think that was God saying, girl, no more control for you. Doing
There
so
you
good with
go.
you are
Yes.
not doing so good with the control. So I'm going to make you lay on that couch and
Yep.
think about your crap and figure out how to heal yourself and not go back to the doctors that are telling you just to take a pill. I had this one doctor for 15 minutes draw me a picture of the thyroid and the brain. And I was like, I know that. Like, helping me though. You're giving me this and it's not making me better. Like
Right.
something wrong.
Yeah.
I found a functional nurse practitioner. She diagnosed me with Hashimoto's. I read a lot of books about Hashimoto's, how to reverse it. But in my thick of praying for myself, I started praying for other people. I was like, this is suffering. I pray for everybody that feels this. I do believe in God. You don't have to believe in God. That's my wish, to believe in him. I just prayed. I was like, listen, if you help me figure my stuff out, I will dedicate my life. I'll change my career. I will help other people. And that's exactly what happened. I figured out how to figure it out.
Yeah.
Um, rest, rest, didn't, exercise is not great for everyone in the moment. It's best like she can design a program that suits you and where you're at. If you are high stress, you don't need to go hit it at the RPM class. You need to go on a walk. You need to do yoga. You, you
Yeah.
need to you need to get in the sun. You need to, and I thought you always had to kill it. Like I didn't know. So
Yeah.
I kept getting myself sicker and sicker. So
Yeah.
really having, I feel like me, Cece, and Dr. Ellis, we're here to tell you this is what you need to do. Stop reading these books you think you have to do because that could be making you sicker.
Yeah.
And so I was able to reverse my Hashimoto's. Yes, I'm on a thyroid pill, caused some permanent damage, but the Hashimoto's isn't, I'm not being attacked anymore. There's this beautiful innate wisdom inside of us that we can heal. We
Yeah.
just got to figure out what that is for us. Looking at stress, trauma, looking at to figure out the whole picture. It's not just the next supplement or the next exercise. It's what do you need? That's my journey. I've helped a lot of people and I get to help even more working with these ladies. We need a revolutionary change in our thinking and know that you're not helpless. You're not hopeless. As long as you have that little glimmer of hope, I think that's all you need is just that the world will open up if you open your mind up to it.
For context, Hashimoto's thyroiditis is an autoimmune disease where your immune system attacks your thyroid and usually causes low levels of thyroid hormone. So just to
Perfect. Should have done
color it
that.
in a little.
That's why the doctor's here.
Love that you embrace helping people working through their trauma because I don't think people realize that our trauma kind of gets trapped in our bodies.
Yes.
And the scientific words would be like, inflammation and yada, yada, yada. But it gets trapped in our bodies. It can manifest in ways that you wouldn't expect. Some things you see right away, like, oh, I snapped at somebody for this thing and it wasn't that big, so you see like, oh, something's going on. Why am I reacting like that? But in other ways, it's like all of a sudden you feel like you're having a heart attack and it turns out that you have anxiety and panic attacks. There's a root in there. There is something that happened. It's usually something traumatic. With the new, I think it's called New German Medicine, they talk about how you can manifest these things within your body, that it's maybe not like something outside of you that's making you not feel well. It's something inside of you that you have to work on releasing and moving that energy. I'm not very well versed in it, but I find it fascinating.
Very fascinating. It's like, why is it that I got Hashimoto's, a thyroid problem? Why is it that somebody has eczema? Why is it that somebody has fibromyalgia? Why is it somebody has chronic shoulder pain or knee pain? Well, it's the certain emotion that has caused a healing problem in the body. Everything that's similar to that keeps going to the shoulder, keeps going to the thyroid. So it's like the body is truly just trying to map it out and protect you from re-traumatizing, but it's almost at your detriment because we have to change that path to a safe path so that you're not re-traumatizing and hurting the thyroid more and hurting the shoulder more and all that. It's a way to really dissolve what's happening, or take it from a 10 to 5, then maybe a 5 to a 3, and find love and a different perspective and a belief system around that. I try to teach people to walk into fear, to tell yourself, I was fearful for no reason, but sometimes the fear is so debilitating.
It's immobilizing.
You can't even do that. So this is a way to just bring that down so that you can go down that path that's actually safe. It just told us it was unsafe to protect us.
The body's really trying to keep you safe. The body and the mind are always trying to keep you safe.
Yep.
Absolutely.
100%.
And that's a part of whole person medicine and whole person care that you have to take into account so many different variables, not just how they're presenting physically, not even how they are perceiving how they're feeling or all of that, but emotional history, medical history, all of those things play a part in creating an ideal plan for someone.
Yeah.
And I think that's something unique that you guys, when you're listening to us, or if you end up working with us, you take from it what works for you, because we have such a wide breadth of experience and training Because I might say, oh, you look like you're a little blocked in your throat chakra. Maybe there's some trauma around that. Maybe we need to call Kristen in and she can work with you on this thing that's blocking your chakra. And you may say, don't talk to me about chakras. I'll say, "Ooh, let's find a language that works for you for what this
Right.
is." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because we
Yeah.
all have a different language to describe it. For some of us, it's going to be more of a spiritual or energetic language. For others, it's going to be a physical thing. I have a friend who had been through an experience of being choked. She has physical throat issues and she also has some energetic throat issues. So
Yeah.
working through all of that. So when we talk about things, go look it up. If that thing isn't the way you want us to talk to you about it, say, hey, that's if you're working with us, of course. But say, hey, can we talk about it in different terms? That doesn't fit with my religious background or personal
Yeah.
belief system. But we can find the right language that works for you to bring it to, to your comfort level. If you say they're talking about some crazy rules, just pass on that and listen to the next part if you don't want to hear that little piece. If I start talking
Right.
about Reiki and chakras and you're like, I don't do Reikis and chakras, don't give me any crystals. I'm gonna be like, good, I got you. We're not gonna do that with you.
Right. And
Exactly.
just keep an open mind because again, 6.5 years ago, I thought it was all woo woo and weird. But
Mhm.
then I got sick and I needed those things to open my mind. Like nobody, I remember I was really sick and I went to one of the ER doctors. I was like, I feel like my adrenals are dysregulating my thyroid. He was like, they're completely two separate organs. They have nothing to do with each other.
Right.
And I was like, but what
Mm.
is that HPA access I keep
Right?
reading about
Okay.
online that says that it is? And so
Yeah.
it just made me think, I feel like you're wrong, even though you're an MD and you're wearing a white coat. And sometimes we think we're know
Yeah.
everything. You don't really do. So advocate for yourself. If you are
Yeah.
going to a doctor and you're not getting what you want, get a second opinion, open your mind.
Yes.
I do feel like we offer affordable programs for people. A lot of times that's why some people have to avoid it is because they can't go see a doctor for $3,000, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we meet you where you're at. We want to help you. We've lived a lot of it, right? Coming from love is our goal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Kristen, in your journey, how have you reclaimed your wellness?
I think by having an open mind, really.
Mhm.
I was, like I said, I was thick in the medical system. I had a closed mind. And then I got sick and it opened Pandora's box for me. It helped me reclaim my health because I was able to keep going down rabbit holes and learning and growing. And then I did make that promise to God. I went back to school to become a holistic nutritionist. It was also school from a California school. I did it online though. Didn't go to California. It just made me know that we really are all individuals. I was such an exercise freak, but I just needed to take a walk. It didn't need to be a crazy Kristen Rock that you're walking up and down the hills for an hour and a half. I kept thinking, oh, I had the mindset more is better, but
Yes.
not so much. Just really figuring out what I needed. And then I help people figure out what they need. We all have a different opinion. I always hear people like, what did you read? Well, okay, I can take that in. And I think we're all very loving and open-minded. So I just think that really revolutionized me and my thinking was that maybe what I've been taught hasn't been the truth.
Yes. I think that for healthcare professionals, we get taught certain things in school. So we're like hardcore believing into that. But then the research becomes more updated. And we're like, oh, I mean, we won't go into this today, but like the food guide pyramid, the one that I learned,
Girl.
absolutely, absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong.
Or
Yeah.
that your genetics dictate everything. Well, we know they proved that wrong when they were trying to do the
Human genome.
The
yeah,
Human Genome Research Project.
It
Yeah.
stopped. We're 10% genes. We're 90% bacteria.
We are so much bacteria.
You got to make those happy. And the cool thing is that bacteria is in your control.
Mhm.
You can really revamp that and change it. You get new organ systems. You can put better things in the system, better
Yes.
thoughts in the system, and
Yeah.
all that will change.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. Definitely. Yeah, part of the ways that I reclaimed my wellness over this journey, when I think of those like main nexus points, they definitely coincide with what we're talking about in terms of my own journey. The first one was trying to get pregnant. I'd gotten diagnosed with PCOS, like so many other women, and was really devastated because I had just gotten married. I wanted children. Like, oh my gosh, how am I going to fix this? That was my first semester in medical school. I was like, well, I have a naturopathic clinic right here and access to the doctor. So let's walk the walk and talk the
Right.
talk. And so that was my first foray into really choosing to lean into this, using that to reframe how I ate, how I worked out with my body, and, going to therapy and
Yeah.
care of my mental at the same time that I'm taking care of my physical body. Postpartum, like most women, postpartum is a very difficult time in our life. For me, okay, I'm not a military person at all, but I feel like becoming a mama is like being dropped in the middle of nowhere with a kind baby. And it's like, good luck, figure it out. Hopefully, we'll see you soon. It's one of the most exciting, wonderful, shocking, and traumatizing situations that a
Oh
woman
yeah.
can go through. But
I
that
think
was
the
another
first one, the second ones are not as bad.
for sure.
We have
Yeah,
people that are trying to
absolutely.
date.
Absolutely. And in all honesty, I say it in those terms because nobody told me, and everyone was like, it's gonna be so great, it's gonna be so awesome. And it was great and it was awesome. And it was also not great and it was also not awesome. I
It was
want
a learning curve. Learning
to
curve.
say
Yeah. I
absolutely.
think life is a big lesson. Learn, grow, don't be
So good.
stuck.
Yeah.
Don't
So
stop
good.
moving. Don't stop having hope. Just keep
Pushing.
going. Yeah, because it's all for you. As hard as it is, as hard as that was for me, literally wanted to just not be on planet Earth anymore. I was begged my husband to leave me, take my baby, and just be better without me. But I still had that hope. And so it's about keep moving forward. As low as you can go, you can also be high to the sky.
Yeah.
Don't stop, right? Like
Yeah.
just keep having hope.
Another piece of reclaiming my wellness was moving back home. We moved from San Diego, California to Charleston, South Carolina, born and raised on a little island off the coast of Charleston. If any of you are familiar with Charleston, you may know of Gullah Geechee culture, which is like a small subset of African American culture where we have done a beautiful job of preserving our African heritage. We have a different dialect, a different food style, culture, just all this really amazing stuff. It coming back helped me see that nothing that I do is new. My people have been doing this for hundreds of years. We have been relying on nature and earth and the herbs and diet and all these things to get us through for hundreds of years. So coming back home has almost been like plugging in, like
Yeah.
being grounded. Yeah.
And bringing your stuff to it. Like
Yeah.
there's not a lot. I mean, I'm in South Carolina too. There's not a lot of us. So we're really working hard to build something special. I feel like bringing it to a lot of the lower socioeconomic class people that just don't know and don't have it accessible.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody should be excluded from having their health.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. Anything else we want to share before we transition into what folks can expect this season?
I'm good.
Okay. So we are going to be coming to you all every other week. We are not going to promise weekly, not in with the way life be life, and we're not going to be able to promise that. However, every other week we are going to be posting a new episode. And also, sorry if you hear my dog barking. Hear her barking?
A little
Not
bit.
loud though.
Yeah, it's fine. It's life. We're going with life.
Real life.
Real life, girls.
But essentially, we are going to be talking about a lot of the things that we're passionate about. I am a big proponent of women's health, gut health, family and kids' health as well. Towards the end of the season, we have some holiday healthy swaps.
Yeah.
And our favorite holiday supplements and healthy gift giving. So we have a couple of exciting topics coming up. If you can let us know in the comments, if you're watching on YouTube, hey friend, comment down below. Let us know some topics you would like for us to discuss. Please share with your friends and family and follow us on social media. And before we end, can we give the folks one health tip they can take with them this week to get them on their journey of living a holistic life in a modern world. I'm going to have one of y'all go first because I haven't quite picked mine out yet.
I'll go. I would say trying to choose some more organic stuff. If this is unaffordable, look up co-ops in your area. They can deliver rejected organic food to your doorstep at a cost-effective price. If you cannot do that, if you have to choose from a strawberry or a blueberry, choose a blueberry. Strawberries are very toxic. Go to ewg.org, look up Clean 15 Dirty Dozen, and start there. You don't have to buy everything organic, but the things that are the dirtiest, start there. That can be a way to build the body up with better stuff.
I can't think of that website, but there is a website where you can, if you want to do an online subscription type thing, you take the fruits and veggies that were like, maybe this carrot had 2 heads on it instead of
Isn't it
1.
Misfits?
Yeah,
can't
Misfit is one.
But
Yeah.
they have, if you want to try that, they're definitely at a lower cost to make it more accessible. If you don't have a bunch of money to spend on organic food because you're dealing with some other financial situations, they do have really great prices, manageable.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, Kristen.
Mm.
If you are thinking about doing something revolutionary and being a little bit different than the circle you have around you and you're feeling awkward or nervous about it, I would say do some breath work to move into an energy that allows you to feel that anxiety and discomfort about doing something different, but move through it so that you get into that space of being able to take action. And so I would say when you feel that, it's a feeling in my chest and sometimes in my throat of tension, tightness, and feeling like, oh my God, what if I say this? Or what if I wear this outfit? Just take some time to do some deep breathing, a nice deep, slow breath in all the way till your belly feels full, and then breathe out and just kind of say, what's the worst thing that could happen if I buy these organic fruit and people make fun of me for spending extra money on organic? What's the worst thing that can happen?
Right.
Maybe my feelings get a little hurt, but are my feelings really hurt? Or am I disappointed that the people around me didn't accept my change?
And
My
let me
feelings
ask-
are I'm
yeah.
fine. And
And
I'm
let me
doing
ask
something
you
better
this.
for my family.
Whenever somebody said, I think I'm going to take that and put it in the air and fly it, don't you think that was quite revolutionary and everybody thought it
Yes.
was crazy? Or I'm going to invent something that's going to light your whole house and you can turn it on and turn it off. Or I'm going to make something that you could put all your food in, it's going to keep it cold. These
Mhm.
people were crazy to other people.
You'll never fly.
Right. Is being revolutionary really that bad? Like, Cece, you hit the nail on the head. It's okay to be the first person to say something amazing, right? Like, don't think of it as being bad. Think of it as being amazing and like being something that's going to set something up.
I have a couple that's been floating around in my head, but I think the main one I would want you all to do in these coming weeks until our next episode is to think ahead to January. Use this next quarter to think about, what do I want my health to look like next year? Do I want my blood sugar to be in the normal A1C? Is there weight that I want to lose? Do I want to feel better in my body? Low pain in terms of joint pain and those sorts of things. Once you get clear on your goals, then listening to our podcast, reading articles, you can be able to direct that information to a problem that you're facing, rather than taking in all of this information and you get so overwhelmed, not entirely sure how to use it. But now that you have an idea of what you want your goals to be, you have somewhere to put that information, if that makes sense.
Focus goes, energy flows.
Yes. And you can say, okay, I'm working on the A1C. So here's the things that I'm going to pull, because I can't do everything they're saying, but I can pull these things and start working on that A1C.
Exactly. And be realistic. So if your A1C is like a 9 and you're like, I want to get it down to a 5, baby steps. So realistic, small, attainable goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can one of you two close us out so Roxy can stop making an appearance in our show?
You see what you got there. Okay. If you want to continue to work with us, which we so would love to have you be our guest every couple of weeks as we do this podcast, you can find us online at ellisfamilywellness.com and book a free discovery call. And if you're on the cameras right now, you can see that the website is there. For those of you that are listening through like audio only, it's Ellis, familywellness.com. You can book a call with Dr. Sarah, Kristen, or myself, Coach Cece, and get a feel for what we're like and see what types of things you may be able to do with us. We would love to hear from you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share this podcast with your friends, share this podcast with your enemies. And we hope to see you again soon.
We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Take care.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.